Welcome everybody, Reaktor23 here. Today we're going to be talking about complex, and just before we dive into it, I'm going to be using this one of my shock maps. I'm going to use this just to demonstrate one of my points. So just up there you can see the Java shock, Dogg shock on the mortars over here. This is the current one we've got going on. Callisto, there's a 2x4 shock. So what we're looking at is, at the back of complex there's usually two boom cannons at about 830. Just to the left of the core, and what I'm going to use is a mine. Huda gave me this idea. Huda actually helped me out with a lot of this information, so shout out to Huda and the Angry family, all of those chat rooms helping me out figure out all of these details. So I'm going to use this mine, so each flare can only go in a cell, and if you imagine, look at this. So I was going to use the boom cannon, but it's pretty hard to see where the mine is because the boom cannon is beastie when it is maxed out. So we're going to use these two cannons here, and the two main shock points that I'm going to refer to, you'll be able to see the grid lines a bit easier on the screen there. So that's the first flare point that I'm going to refer to. That's one cell right of the center line, and then we've got that flare there, which is two cells to the right of the center line. So just bear that in mind whilst we have a look at complex. So let's jump over, and it's right here. So we're going to start off with Dogg child. So let's just have a quick look at the map. The beach is hot at about 75% of the time, maybe even a little bit more. So you're usually going to have to use smokes on the beach. And there are some mines to be cleared up the top here. We normally just clear these 9 mines with one artillery on the center mine, and we'll often mark this boom cannon just on the right, which will just keep the bazookas grouped quite nicely. When you are targeting things, or things are tagged, just remember that your bazookas are going to kind of spread looking towards that direction when they auto target. So just remember that when you're then going to be flaring onto the core, your double smoke might not be sort of perpendicular to the core. Another thing to watch out for on complex is this power cell here. If it's not there, it can ruin your path, and I'll talk a little bit more about that later. You shouldn't need to clear any of these mines if you get the right technique going. So here we go, Dogg's clearing a few more mines. He has unfortunately left that one, but that's okay because it's only a level 20 mine, so his Zookas will be able to tank that, assuming it's the only one they hit. So let's jump down. Dogg's going to do a demonstration of the crossover flare. We have three paths that we can take. So this first one is the crossover flare. If this fuel cell isn't here, the crossover flare is probably your best bet. And we'll show why it's called the crossover flare in a minute. But first of all, let's have a look at this landing. And it's around about here, on the right hand side of the beach probably. So you'll see that he's used his flags about 3/4 of the way up the beach, on the right hand side. And you can see sort of where those lines cross, that's where he's done it. And you'll notice that he hasn't dropped any smokes yet. So the advantage of this is that you can drop all your bazookas, and then you can use the rocket launcher delay, because obviously all these rocket launchers are in range, and he's using the rocket launcher delay, so as they turn, he's then using that delay to drop those smokes. Obviously lost 1 or 2 on the right hand side, that's fine, and there's a little bit of a gap between the top smoke and the left smoke, so you've got to watch out for that if the Zooka spread, or when this flare goes. See those gap opened up a bit there and he lost a few, which is really unfortunate. So let's go have a look at his flare, which is one of the most important things today. He's flaring right onto that wall, and I love wall flares. Long wall flares are awesome. He's going to be walking in this nice straight line. But if you imagine a perfect 45-degree angle, he's lining up with those mines right now. So what are you thinking about, Dogg? So you can see pretty much all of these flares will always kink the Zookas right to start with, so you've got to smoke with that in mind. And these boom mines, they'll just travel just to the left of that in one single orderly fashion. I love it. So nice work, Dogg. And then when he's already sent the next flare, and you'll see just as it's expiring, he's throwing it in the second cell over. So it's the middle cell behind that boom cannon, as far up as you can. And he's doing that whenever he feels like he's going to reflare, and he's immediately starting to kink his smokes out to the right, so you can notice that that path's going to change. So there we go, going outside that power cell, and then the Zookas are just going to form a nice neat line and heading up. Just while we're here, this rocket launcher is usually out of range, and this shock launcher is usually out of range. Obviously depends on the spread. If you're far up against this wall enough, so he does tank that mine. If you're far enough against that wall and you flare from a little bit further away, those defenses I just pointed out will stay out of range. And then just as that smoke's expiring, so he's obviously going to flare on the core, and then he's going to get the shocks. You saw they were about 9 o'clock on the smoke timer, and he's just shocking this rocket launcher because he has to shock this bottom one as well. So there we go, getting some good damage on the core, hit some critters out just to try and delay the inevitable. And a medkit on the one-shot Zookas. So there we go, that was the crossover flare, which is a great option when that beach cell that we pointed out isn't there. It also works for that attack there you obviously saw. It's a little bit trickier because you got to do that kink in the middle, but if the cell is there and you try any of the following techniques, your Zookas tend to spread into 3 lines and it's a lot harder to smoke. Right, so let's have a look at Longvan. He's going to be using the single line technique. So he's going to be flaring in 1 cell right of center, and then on the reflare he's going to flare 2 cells right of the center. So that 2 cell to the right of the center should always be that finishing spot every time. The final type is just doing 2 of the finishing flares, so so even from the beach, just going straight to that 2 cells to the right, just straight there, straight away, and the Zookas will be in 2 lines, and they'll just walk all the way up. But if you do the single line path, it'll be 1 cell to the right, and then halfway up, 2 cells to the right, and they'll just walk a little bit straighter. So let's have a look at the landing. Also got another different technique on the landing, which I love. He's got this smoke nice and low, just on that T. You'll be able to see it. And he's using his flags about halfway up the beach, all the way on the right hand side. And the reason he's doing that is so that these Zookas on the left 4 boats that are being covered by the smoke aren't going to walk too far up the beach and go out of the smoke. He wants them to walk directly across and into that smoke. The right smoke he's used a little bit higher, up to you whether you want to keep it nice and low and then do an extra smoke above. And then he's already got that next smoke out, and he's making sure that these Zookas are going to be inside the smoke before that flare lands. It's all about timing. So that flare's already gone up, and it is in that 1 cell just to the right of the center line. And then you'll see that right kink is happening again. Nice, and they're all going to form 1 perfect line. If you do, and then when he reflares, you'll see that he flares just to the right. And if he does that straight away, you'll see that they kind of went into 2 lines there. They'll do 2 lines from the beach all the way up. It's a little bit harder to smoke, but it's obviously a lot more precise. And you'll see that because these 2 boom cannons are marked, they're going to spread perpendicular to those auto-targeted defenses, and now he's going to flare on, so a couple of Zookas are going to spread down, which is just going to get in range of the shock launcher. And then he gets the same shocks. The shock launcher does pop off, but it doesn't matter. He's going to be hammering the core down, and Complex is going to go down. So that was Complex. There's a lot of things to be thinking about. Feel free to come and have a look at this video whenever you need to take on Complex. Hopefully it all made sense. Comment down below how you take out Complex, or if you do anything differently. Give us a thumbs up if you liked the video, thumbs down if you didn't, and subscribe for more Boom Beach!